Presentation on concept of amalgamation and merger presented by Anupama J. M.Com Final MPM Government First Grade College Karkala. Concept of amalgamation and merger under Income Tax Act 1961. In the context of taxation, amalgamation includes not only the merger of one existing company with another existing company, but also the merger of two or more existing companies to form a third party. Section 2 subsection 1b of Income Tax Act defines amalgamation as merger of one or more companies with another company or merger of two or more companies to from one company in such a manner that first one, all the property of the amalgamating company or companies immediately before the amalgamation becomes the third party of the amalgamated company by virtue of the amalgamation. All the liabilities of the amalgamating company or companies immediately before the amalgamation becomes the liabilities of the amalgamated company by virtue of the amalgamation. Shareholders holding at least 3/4 in value of the shares in the amalgamating company or companies before the shareholders of the amalgamated company by virtue of the amalgamation. The motive of giving this definition is that the benefits or concession under Income Tax Act 1961 shall be available to both amalgamating company and amalgamated company only when all the conditions mentioned in the said section are satisfied. Amalgamating company means company which is merging, and amalgamated company means the company with which it merges or the company which is formed after merger. However, acquisition of property of one company by another is not amalgamation. For example, X Limited merges with Y Limited in a scheme of amalgamation, and immediately before the amalgamation, Y Limited held 20% of shares in X Limited. The above mentioned conditions will be satisfied if shareholders holding not less than 75% and the value of remaining 80% of shares in X Limited, that is 60%, thereof become shareholders in Y Limited by virtue of amalgamation. Next, income tax defines amalgamation as merger of one or more companies with another company or merger of two or more companies to from one company. Let us take an example of X Limited and Y Limited. Here following situations may emerge. His first example is X Limited merges with Y Limited, thus X Limited goes out of existence. Here X Limited is amalgamating company and Y Limited is amalgamated company. And next example is X Limited and Y Limited both merges and form a new company, says Z Limited. Thus, both X Limited and Y Limited goes out of existence and form a new company, Z Limited. Here, X Limited and Y Limited are amalgamated company and Z Limited is also a amalgamated company. Next, tax reliefs and benefits in case of amalgamation. If an amalgamation takes place within the meaning of Section 2, subsection 1b of the Income Tax Act 1961, the following tax reliefs and benefits shall available. The first one is tax relief to the amalgamating company. So, first one, exemption from capital gains tax, section 47 subsection 6. Under section 47 subsection 6 of the Income Tax Act, capital gain arising from the transfer of assets by the amalgamating companies to the Indian Amalgamated Company is exempted from taxes. Such transfer will not be regarded as a transfer for the purpose of capital gain. The tax relief to the amalgamating company is the Income Tax Act capital gain arising from the transfer of assets by the amalgamating companies is to the Indian Amalgamated Company is exempted. And next one is exemption from capital gains tax in case of international restructuring, section 47 subsection 6a. Under section 47 subsection 6a, in case of amalgamation of foreign companies, transfer of shares held in Indian company by amalgamating foreign company to amalgamated foreign company is exempted from tax if following two conditions are satisfied. In the exemption of capital gains in the international restructuring, in case of amalgamation of foreign companies, is transferred to the shares held in Indian company to the amalgamating to the foreign company. But two conditions are satisfied in this condition. The first one, at least 25% of the shareholders of the amalgamating foreign company continue to remain shareholders of the amalgamated foreign company. And next one is such transfer does not attract tax on capital gains in the country in which our amalgamating company is incorporated. In these two conditions are satisfied in the capital gains of the foreign company. Next one is tax relief to the shareholders of an amalgamating company. Exemption from capital gains tax, section 47 subsection 7. Under section 47 subsection 7 of the Income Tax Act, capital gains arising from the transfer of shares by shareholders of the amalgamating companies are exempted from tax, as such transactions will not be regarded as a transfer of capital gain purpose. In exemption from capital gain tax is arising from the transfer of shares by the shareholders of the amalgamating company. These are exempted from tax. The capital gains is purpose of if first one is the transfer is made in consideration of the allotment to him of shares in the amalgamated company and amalgamated company in Indian company. Third one is tax relief to the amalgamated company. This first one, carry forward and set off of accumulated loss and unobserved depreciation of the amalgamated company, section 72A. Section 72A of the Income Tax Act 1961 deals with the merger of the sick companies with healthy companies and to take advantages of the carry forward of accumulated losses and unobserved depreciation of the amalgamating company. But the benefits under this section will respect to unobserved depreciation and carry forward losses are available only if the following conditions are fulfilled. In carry forward and setup of accumulated losses and unobserved depreciation, only the conditions are only satisfied, otherwise exempted. Its first one is there should be an amalgamation. A company owning an industrial undertaking is not one. Not one is included are the manufacturing or processing of goods, or the manufacture of computer software, or the business of generation or distribution of electricity, or any other form of power and mining. These are included in step 1. Or ship or a hotel with another company. Or B, a banking company referred in section 5, and C of the Banking Regulation Act 1949 with a specified bank. And note 2 is included in specified banks means the State Bank of India constituted under the State Bank of India Act 1955, or a subsidiary bank as defined in the State Bank of India is Act 1959, or a corresponding new bank constitute under section 3 of the banking companies. These are included in the step 2. And next one is specified bank means the State Bank of India. The amalgamated company should be an Indian company. The amalgamating company should be engaged in the business in which the accumulated loss occurred or depreciation remains unobserved for 3 years or more. These conditions are fulfilled in set carry forward and setup of accumulated loss and unobserved depreciation. Next, the amalgamating company should held continuously as on the date of amalgamating at least 3/4 of the book value of the fixed assets held by it 2 years prior to the date of amalgamation. And next one, the amalgamated company holds continuously for a minimum period of 5 years from the date of amalgamation at least 3/4 on the book value of fixed assets of the amalgamating company acquired in a scheme of amalgamation. The amalgamated company continues the business of the amalgamating company for a minimum period of 5 years from the date of amalgamation. These conditions are fulfilled in set of carry forward in the unobserved depreciation. And next one is expenditure on scientific research, section 35 subsection 5. When an amalgamating company transfer any assets represented by capital expenditure on the scientific research to the amalgamated Indian company in a scheme of amalgamation, provisions of section 35. It shall be applicable in the first one is unobserved expenditure on scientific research of the amalgamating company will be allowed to be carried forward and set up in the hands of the amalgamated company. And next one, if such assets ceases to be used in the previous year for scientific research related to the business of amalgamated company and is sold by the amalgamated company, the sale price to the extent of cost of asset shall be treated as business income, and the excess of sale price over the cost shall be subject to the provisions of the capital gain. Next one is amortizations of expenditure in case of amalgamation, section 35DD. Under section 35DD, for expenditure incurred in connections with the amalgamation, the SSC shall be allowed a deduction of an amount equal to 1/5 of such expenditure for each of the 5 successive previous year beginning with the previous year in which the amalgamation take places. And the amortization of expenditure in case of amalgamation is the SSC shall be allowed is deducted of an amount is equal of 1/5 of the such expenditure in the previous year beginning with the previous year. It is amalgamation is take places. Next one is treatment of preliminary expenses, section 35D subsection 5. When an amalgamating company merges with an amalgamated company under a scheme of amalgamation, the amount of preliminary expenses of the amalgamating company, to the extent not yet written off, shall be allowed as deduction to the amalgamated company in the same manner as would have been allowed to the amalgamating company. And the treatment of preliminary expenses is company is merged in the amalgamated company is under the scheme of amalgamation. This amount is preliminary expenses of amalgamating company is not extend to it written off shall be allowed is deducted to the amalgamated company. It is allowed to the amalgamating companies. Next one is expenditure for obtaining a license to operate telecommunication services, section 35A BB subsection 6. Where in a scheme of amalgamation, the amalgamating company sells or otherwise transfer its license to the amalgamated company is being an Indian company, the provisions of section 35A BB which were applicable to the amalgamating company shall become applicable in the same manner to the amalgamated company consequently. The first one is the expenditure on acquisition on license not yet written off shall be allowed to the amalgamated company in the same number of balance installment. Next one, where the such license is sold by the amalgamated company, the treatment of the deficiency or surpluses will be same as would have been in the case of amalgamating company. Next one is treatment of capital expenditure on family planning under section 36 subsection 1 subsection 9. If asset representing capital expenditure on family planning is transferred by the amalgamating company to the amalgamated company under a scheme of amalgamation, such expenditure shall be allowed as deductions to the amalgamated company in the same manner as would have been allowed to the amalgamating company. The treatment of capital expenditure on family planning is these schemes or amalgamation. Such expenditure is shall be allowed as the deductions of the amalgamated company. Next one is treatment of bad debts, section 36, subsection 1, subsection 7. When due to amalgamation, debts of the amalgamating company has been taken over by amalgamated company and subsequently such debts turn out to be bad, it shall be allowed as deductions to the amalgamated company. And the treatments of bad debts is of the amalgamated company has taken over by the amalgamated company is such debts turn out to be bad, it shall be allowed and deductions to the amalgamated company. Next one is meaning of merger. A merger is a deal that unifies two existing firms into one company. There are several kinds of merger. There are also several explanations as to why mergers are done by business. Mergers and acquisitions are usually undertaken to extend the size of a business, grow into new markets, or gain market shares. The merger is much of this is intended to increase shareholders' value. Often, business have a non-shop clause in place after a merger to profit over firms from buying or combining. A merger is a voluntary union of two entities into a single legal entity and brandly equal terms. The types of mergers. First one is conglomerate. Conglomerate. It is a merger of two or more companies involved in unrelated business operations. The companies can operate in various industries or in different geographic regions. It is a kind of venture in which two or more companies belonging to different industrial sectors combine their operations. All the merger companies are no way related to their kind of business and product line, rather their operations overlap that of each other. And the second one is congeneric merger. A co-generic merger is also called the product extension merger. It is a merger of two or more companies operating in the same market or industry with overlapping factors such as marketing, technology, research and development, and manufacturing process. A kind in which two or more companies in association are same way or the other related to the production process, business markets or basic required technology. This kind offer great opportunities to business as it opens a huge gateway to diversity around a common set of resources and strategic requirements. Next one is horizontal. A horizontal merger occurs among firms that work in the same sector. Usually, the merger is part of a competition between two or more companies that sell the same goods or services. The horizontal merger, this kind of merger exists between two companies who compete on the same industry segment. The two companies combine their operations and gain strength in terms of improved performance and increased capital and enhanced profit. And next one is market extension. This form of merger occurs between companies selling the same goods but competing in different markets. And the market extension is between the companies, same goods selling but competing in different markets. Next one, vertical. A vertical merger happens when two firms working at different levels within the supply chain of the same company integrated their operations. The vertical merger, a kind in which two or more companies in the same industry but in different fields combine together in business. In this form, the companies in mergers decided to combine all the operations and productions under one shelter. Thank you.